colorblind. I don't.
It looks beautiful in the light.
Luckily, I'm not a buyer anymore. I'm like, that would have been like a big problem.
That's so funny.
Awesome. All right, we are broadcasting now. Hi, guys. I am Syama Maher. I am the CEO of Scaling Retail and International Retail Consultancy. I'm so thrilled to be partnering with Kali and with Liberty Fairs to be able to do these Retail Roundup series as we are unpacking so many, gosh, just important, interesting, and sometimes fun conversations of what's happening in this world of retail. As usual, you know, retail, I think, is just an amazing community. We all seem to flourish together. We, you know, flail together. We are always in support. And sometimes I feel like it's just it's a blessing and a curse, you know, when we're all feeling great, it's amazing. And when we're not, gosh, we just have to share and band together. So as part of our series of bringing together experts in the world, people who are on the ground and experiencing all of the things that are possibly on your minds, we are so excited today to have a very lively conversation about store reopenings, about what it's like to kind of move into better communication with vendors, consumers. You know, what are some of the ways in which we are banding together? And gosh, I'm so excited for our panelists. So before we jump in, Kali, please take it away. Let us know what we're going to expect today, and then we'll hear from our panelists.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in our third installment of Real-Time Retail, partnering with Scaling Retail. My name is Kali Sid. I am the Retail Relation for Liberty Fairs, and I want to first of all invite everyone that's here to our Liberty Fairs virtual marketplace that will be from August 17th until September 17th in partnership with Jure. We're going to have such an exciting conversation with Andrew from Mr. Sid's, Kimberly from Rose Boutique, and Rachel from Azalea in San Francisco, and we're so excited. I'm going to thank you guys for being here. And Syama, you can take it away.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So let's open it up with just kind of like a quick catch up. The last 5 months have been absolutely batshit crazy. I'm sure everything from what the hell is going on with my business to what's going on with buying, what's going on with customers, probably personal things like, oh my gosh, I now have to set up a work from home office. So I'm all sorts of crazy things. But I'm currently in San Francisco. So Rachel, I'm going to start off with you and ask you kind of, give us a really quick rundown of what have the last 5 months been like for you guys, and where are you currently today?
Yeah, so you know, a lot of things about the current situation remind me of the recession. So it's been a very quick adaptability, kind of like remaining flexible, change from day to day. We have to make sure that customers are safe. We have to retain our vendor relations. So we've kind of been focusing on both of those things equally and just taking it every day at once. But right now we've had to reduce our hours, but we're thriving with the customers we have. So we're just trying to remain open to change just to get through this difficult time.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you something then maybe a little more, let me pull the thread just a tiny bit more.
Please do.
Tell me in terms of the last 5 months, what's been the best thing that's happened and what's been the worst thing that's happened?
I feel like one of the things we always have prided ourselves on in the workplace is just open to change. So we've kind of been embracing drop ship quickly, building a new system to be able to function with that in the store as well. I would say just trying to find new ways to reach customers has been the primary focus. That's, you know, changed a lot in different ways right now, as opposed to only in store, just because there's limited customer traffic too because of the pandemic. So kind of just focusing on growing in every way that we can as quickly as we can.
We'll pull on that a little bit more in today's conversation. Andrew, how about you? How have the last 5 months been? Give me the low down dirty and maybe some silver linings if you have them.
We're trying to find the silver linings. The good thing I think has been that we found that we do have a really loyal client base. And so we've really been focusing on who that is, how they feel about our store, learning a lot about our store and our relationships with the community. And that's been really important. It's guiding how we're looking at what we can do to go forward. I think the hardest thing for us has been trying to pivot. We're a high-end men's store, fairly classic. We do really well in a big business in suiting. Well, that's not looking good. And obviously all our fall buys were already placed before this really hit. So the biggest disaster is I've spent the first couple months of the pandemic trying to pivot our matrix, trying to figure out how we're going to appeal now to a casual culture when guys aren't traveling for business, people aren't coming into offices, people aren't meeting clients face to face. So they're not beating up and wearing out suits anymore. And so it's how do we, once a buy is already done, beg, plead, borrow, and steal to try to get an assortment that's going to be appealing for fall 20.
Interesting. I definitely want to come back to that in terms of how you're noticing maybe even your vendors shifting and kind of how, because obviously shifts and changes that you're experiencing trickle down, right? I mean, everyone is kind of undergoing tremendous amounts of uncertainty and change. So how your vendors are approaching that, I think, is going to be a interesting thing. I'm going to make sure to write that down. Okay, we'll come back to that. So Kimberly, maybe you have some silver linings. Tell us how the last 5 months been.
Well, it's like the same. Like I kind of liken it to a marathon, right? Like where you're like, I can look right in front of me, but if I think about how many miles are left, I kind of freak out. So we're just trying to stick and move with all the changes that are happening. But for me, one of the things that's been great is because I'm in a smaller community, we're like a bedroom community to Seattle. We have a really collaborative downtown. So we've come together as merchants and launched, well, I know this is about the in-store experience, but we launched initially like a digital platform that was a community platform and had a really big success there in that time when you weren't sure if you're going to be able to pay your rent. So really collaborating with our other merchants and finding ways so that we're using their audience as well as our audience so that we're appealing to a large number of people and potentially maybe new customers has been one of the successful things outside of being lonely and alone during like the time when you're shut down and, but yeah, that's the part that I've had the most success with so far is just leaning on your peers.
I love that. It kind of goes back to community, right? It's like how do we all kind of figure this shit out together? Totally. Given your, the three of you guys is your regional differences, right? Kind of where you're located. I mean, obviously, I would say in times past, we wouldn't really pay too much attention to what governors are doing or, what kind, maybe because we're trying to get a permit to open up a bar inside of our retail store. But, as far as like, kind of engaging or being able to follow what's happening from a government standpoint, I'm sure each of you guys are responding differently, right? Or you have different kind of ways of managing that. And today, obviously, we have a group of people who are attending who are also regionally kind of, spread out. Have you guys noticed in terms of just direction and communication and how you guys are looking at store openings and things like that? How has that experience kind of been for you guys? I mean, how is information being disseminated and how quickly or how able are you guys able to react to that? And I'll start with you, Andrew.
We're seeing a lot that's coming to us mostly through news and kind of traditional media. So where the governor has announced X, then we have to respond to it. So it doesn't feel like there's anybody coming knocking on our door, and nobody's coming knock on our door to check. Are you guys complying with this? This is where you need to be. Nobody's really done that way. It's just, this is how retail will roll out. We had a phase program like most states. So when we were actually finally allowed to reopen, which was June, I think, we were shut down longer than most. I think we were somewhat left at our own discretion, and we've worked really cooperatively with our clients also. We're lucky to have good relationships in a big store. So I set up an appointment with somebody and say, what are you comfortable with? Do you need a private space in the store set aside? What are you looking for? Let me get things set up ahead of time for you. And we've kind of been left to be able to manage that. And so I work really collaboratively with people, and some people in an hour and a half, I'm going to somebody's house to meet them on their front porch, fit a jacket that way. And all that seems very open and possible for us to do. And it's just really about communicating with the clients to figure out what they're going to be happy with, what's going to make them feel good. Because I really want all of our clients to walk in here, like always, to say, this is a separate space. I'm now in Mr. Sid. I'm not at work. Kids aren't stressing me out. The world's not going crazy. I can feel comfortable in here. And so for some people, that's very relaxed, and for some, that's very rigid safety.
It's interesting. It reminds me of the fact that I haven't had a massage, and I guess none of us have, in like 6 months. And it's like, it's like, you're like, okay, where can I get my therapy? I'm gonna go shopping and have a personal, shopping, trying to find that way to create some sanctity, right, in your life. So retail therapy takes on a whole new level. Kimberly, how are you kind of noticing in terms of communication with government? I mean, obviously, I think there's something to be said about finding out about things when everyone else finds out about things, and you're like, okay, holy shit, like what are we? And customers are obviously hoping that you have the answer before they have the answer, right? So how has communication been for you guys?
So our governor seems to be having like a weekly update, and they send out a guideline. So that's been pretty helpful. Granted, you get that again through the news or through like our city site. And I'm just seeing that, people are just inundated with all that safety information, what you can and can't do. And like at the grocery store, don't go this way and do this, that, it's overwhelming. So we're trying to communicate the rules in a way here to show that we're safety, but also make it a really enjoyable shopping experience, like coaching them. These are the things we're doing for your safety and we're asking you to do. But once you're in, like, it's not like you can't touch this or do that, just coaching them through the process. I'm putting these in the room for you. Leave them there when you're done. We quarantine them or we steam them or whatever. So to try and, because like you said, they are out if they are in the store, to get away and to have a moment. So safely, but without that sort of stop, red flag things like you can't do, just trying to focus on making the experience enjoyable with the underlining message of safety throughout. So, but yeah, we're all on our own as well, just trying to interpret the information. And like Andrew said, nobody's checking to see if we are indeed, quarantining or wiping everything. So.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting, and you brought up something really fascinating, which is about training the consumer. So, I personally spent the first 4 months of quarantine literally in Long Island in a house and like didn't go anywhere, right? And so as soon as I started to, I got back to LA and, and kind of life started to unfold. And then I had to basically adopt a whole new way of living, as all of us have, right? I mean, like, it's almost like we're learning new ways of eating with a knife and a fork, right? It's like, okay, this is how we now have to live. And this is how we are doing, this is kind of how we are now socializing, or now we're shopping. In terms of, training customers or helping them to, shop and have it be more collaborative. Rachel, what are you noticing in terms of, how people are showing up, or kind of how the social component of that, or, our customers feeling, I know San Francisco has had some of the lowest cases, right? It's like, how are people feeling about shopping in San Francisco? And are people, generally speaking, in your experience, being really cautious? Are they pretty, casual?
Yeah, I would say San Francisco is kind of an interesting bubble. We have had a unique challenge because a lot of long-time residents have been leaving. So we're just kind of like developing a new customer base at this point with people that are coming in. A lot of people have been shopping in like family groups. There's still people that are going back to college in some fashion, moms, daughters, families, people socializing together. So that has been interesting for sure. Just kind of like creating conversation to make them feel safe and comfortable is one of our most important, reminders for everyone in the store. But yeah, San Francisco, we weren't able to open until mid-June, so we got a little bit of a later start than other people. And there's always, the rules come over the news. They could change at the drop of a hat. If San Francisco is pretty cautious about that, so we're just remaining open to the information for now.
Interesting. As you guys are kind of thinking about even the labor market, as it comes to staffing and kind of getting your teams back up and running, I'm interested to kind of hear about, just obviously during these times of furloughs and, the chaos that's kind of ensued. I can say from some of my client experiences most recently, it was challenging to hire people, like there were some issues with hiring people because of, let's say unemployment benefits, or just the way things were kind of shaking out. it seemed like it was both equally challenging to keep your job and in the same breath to hire someone for a job and to kind of be able to sequence and balance things. In terms of your guys' teams, are you guys finding, it is easier, are you guys feeling pretty like well-oiled or well operational? Are you having any hiccups? And then to kind of, I know with many of you guys who've kind of shifted into a more digital focus, right? Obviously in-store labor doesn't always translate into digital competencies, right? It's like you kind of need different skill sets, right? And that's understandable. So how have your business labor kind of practices changed, and how are you guys looking at how that's evolving, I guess, over time? Like how the hell do you plan for this? All right, Kimberly, I'm going to start with you.
Well, we are small, so we're pretty lean and mean. I have been able to bring back, I only have like 4 staff. So I've been able to bring them back right now. I'm a little type A, like many of us, I'm sure. So I manage most of the digital piece of it. So, but I've drawn in some help and just sort of, again, like we said, navigating, like reassigning and doing more training for how our processes happen, that, because there's changes to it now. We need to do this and do that. So having to really communicate with staff and sort of everybody stick and move, right, as the things change. But so far, so good as far as moving forward for our staff.
Okay, awesome. Rachel, how about you? How are things shifting with labor?
This is also like a San Francisco specific thing, but we've had issues with labor, for a while now at this point, just because of before this, there was an extreme like kind of wealth gap growing, from all the technology base. So we've had problems finding and maintaining staff. Right now we have a pretty solid crew, but it has gotten smaller. So we just work really closely together and everyone's kind of like on board to embrace whatever task we need to make happen, so whether it's social media or like the stores helping us process online orders, everyone's just kind of open to figuring it out as we go. So it's good.
No shit. It's like, all right, who's doing fulfillment? I am,
Yeah.
We gotta package that thing, I mean, I think there's kind of this like fun,
definitely open the team attitude. Yeah.
Scrappy. Yeah. Like, all right, I guess we gotta figure it out. Andrew, anything that you've been noticing on your end with regards to labor and kind of how things are shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, one thing we had to be a little careful too is we got the PPP, which was great. And so part of the deal of that being a forgivable loan is you have to retain a certain amount of labor too. So it does in some ways for us dictate how many people we can carry, and making sure that we have enough people and continue with enough people that we paid through the PPP so that we can have that loan forgiveness. So that's really where we've based a lot of our staffing numbers around. And then to fill in with some things, we've worked with some of the local students there's a school here that's a fashion program. So we have an intern from that. And he helps out a ton with packing and sorting and all those little things. But, he's an intern from school, not even 100% sure still if he's going to be going back into class. So he's happy to be hands-on with something. And we have him in a setup where we don't have to set up a bigger salary commitment too. So that's been a pretty good balance for us.
That's awesome. That's really smart. You mentioned the PPP, and I think that's like, it's so interesting how it's like every month they're like, okay, we're going to come out with new rules on what you can use it for. And you're like, but I already either spent it based on the first rules. So now it's like, all right, new rules. But like, what do I do with it? And for me, from like an economic standpoint, it's like, well, the PPP helps if you have the people who want to do those jobs, right? It's like it necessitates that there's desire, right? And then it's like, the whole thing just seems, it seems like it's constantly unfolding, and all of us are probably just, I don't know, our blood pressure is probably just much higher now than it's ever been before. So guys, as we're kind of looking into, looking to fall, I mean, most of you guys would have been receiving or have been receiving your deliveries. How are you guys looking at product and product planning, and how much are you guys planning out right now for holiday, and what does even spring look like? I mean, there's been so much talk in the last few months about shifting the retail calendars. There's been talks about how we reapproach markdowns and POSs, yet certainly there isn't any sort of, aside from, let's say, the CFDA or the NRF, there really isn't kind of a place where we're like, all right, guys, here's how we're going to move forward, or here's how we're going to shift things. And maybe similar to how we get news from the governor, it's like, all right, this is what's happening. How do we make it happen? So in terms of buying calendars and maybe planning, I know you can't say a year out, but certainly for the next maybe 6 to 9 months, which is probably where your eyes are at, how are you guys thinking about planning your product and kind of what the cadence looks like? And Andrew, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I'd push back on my fall deliveries. So I've got a few things that are coming in now that are transitional, just to add some freshness. Again, focusing on the fact that most of the people walking in my door are established clients. So I need to somehow or another still be able to excite them. The majority of my fall, though, I took back from what would be now a delivery for at least a full month. So I'm pushing my trunk shows and events back, hoping that I can figure out if we can have them. Still don't know for sure what gatherings will look like and how to do in-store events. So pushing back deliveries also lets me push back all those sort of things. Just met with somebody this morning looking at spring 21. Obviously my plans are way down. I'm not going to do a holiday delivery at all. I'm going to use a carryover position. I went before we hit sale. I went through and walked the floor and I literally pulled stuff off the racks, laid it down, did a buy. It's my holiday buy. Put it in the back, called my vendors, see if they can help me out on terms, and I'll pull it back out in 4 months, and there's my holiday. So spring, I'm going to push back and probably try to deliver a lot of that around March 1. Some of it I'll trickle in a little bit earlier just to boost, again, adding freshness for a repeat clientele. But I am trying to push everything back at least a month.
Got it. Sounds like you're approaching it like a hedge fund manager. I like it. It's very it's like, all right, I got my position here. We're hedging here. This is how we're navigating it. It's so funny. It reminds me when people used to ask me like, oh, what's it like to be a buyer? I'm like, do you like finance? Because like, if you don't, if you're scared of like, the stock market, then you probably don't want to be a buyer.
It's finance without getting paid.
Rachel, how are you guys looking at things?
Yeah, I mean, going into the past, I would say year or two, we've kind of tried to transition some categories into more buy now, wear now anyways. So that has helped some. A lot of our vendors are open to pushing back deliveries and, maintaining markdowns so that we can keep full price longer, because we're all in the same boat. So hopefully there won't be as much competition with marking down goods for fall, even though it's a little late. I think that'll be pretty important just because the internet, creates more visibility. But yeah, and then spring, I think we're just going to remain flexible and keep it light just so we can kind of see where we go. I'm sure people will have goods that we can always buy then, and we'll just figure it out as we go.
So ATS, you guys are kind of hoping on, okay. And as far as like communicating, everyone just shook their heads. Yes. Okay. So everyone's like, yes, ATS. As far as, communicating with those vendors about ATS availability, Kimberly, you also shook your head yes in terms of looking at ATS. How is that communication going? Are many of your vendors saying, we understand the position that you're in, like this is what we're carrying, we are gonna, we're gonna go ahead and go into production for, our DTC channels and pad in a little bit extra, hoping that we're gonna get picked up mid-season or before the season opens? Like what's the communication been like?
Yeah, this is where your relationships sure come into play, right? So the lines that maybe I didn't have the relationships with, you're like, hello, where are you? Like, what's going on? And, but I've just been pretty frank, like, I'm not sure, do you want me to cancel this and then see what you have, available, or should we leave it and then have to push back? Everyone's been so far in the main lines that we carry really flexible. Like, I can't take that right now. Can we drop this particular style? Because I don't know about you guys, but everyone's working from home and for the foreseeable future. So I'm not selling nice dresses and skirts, and I'm not selling, going out with your friends' tops. So I'm trying to shift and revise buys or just pick up the pieces that make sense for what our upcoming future looks like. And I'm going to be not doing probably, I'm not placing any spring yet, just to know. We don't know. I want to see how we do through holiday when that federal subsidy stops. Like, are people going to stop shopping, or what does that look like? I'm just hesitant to put in any big, large orders after the first of the year except for maybe some core pieces that I know that do well for us. But so far, most of the vendors have been really great to work with. As long as I'm just upfront and frank about what I think is happening, they're more than willing to like work with you, in my experience so far. So just communicating.
Yeah, it feels like there's not a lot of it's like either they're going to be flexible and have a shot, or not and have no shot. So yeah. I mean, it's kind of the not a lot of optionality there. Andrew, in terms of, I know we wanted to come back to the conversation with you around vendors and how you're kind of approaching working with your vendors. As you're kind of building on those relationships, obviously with your industry and then kind of the specificity of your product line, which is really different, right? Than just, being able to just move into casual, active and things like that, given the momentum and growth of your category prior to this, right? Or kind of like how things were I would have to say that men's market in your space, everyone was like, yeah, this is the thing. And it's, so much momentum. And now it's like, holy shit. How are you noticing your vendors shifting and changing, and what are those conversations been like in your sector?
Yeah, I'd say there are two big camps, and it's really easy to figure out. I look at the vendor relationships, and some people would really try to make a big pivot now and say we got to make a bold stance. But for a couple of reasons, I think I want to support the people who've supported me, and the ones who are supporting me now, I want to give them orders as much as I can. Which isn't as much as I'd like, but as much as I can. So you see some of the vendors who are going to be supportive, carry some stock, move into some casual things, have a few creative ideas. But I also try to look at what my demand's likely to be, and knowing that I'm probably not going to be able to go out and get a whole lot of new customers right now. Comfort issues, where people want to go, why people are coming into the store. I feel like I need to keep a matrix that's pretty comfortable and only slightly progressive for my customer. If I try to just whiplash, I'm going to take a whole new position, I'm going to become a streetwear store. I just don't think anybody's coming in. So I know the names of the guys. I know the style of the guys. I'm going to my vendors and saying, him like I know him. You've been at a trunk show. Client A. You know what he's going to look. Now, how can we get him a little bit more casual? How can I set up something he's going to wear from a Zoom call? And can you back it up? If I can order 20 of them, can you carry an extra 10? And try to set up that. And the people who aren't doing it are going to lose a ton of market share. So.
Got it. Thank you for that. I mean, it's, I think that those relationships around, it's kind of like it's an interesting like balancing act, right? It's like all of a sudden, when everything shut down, also manufacturing and production shut down. So everything kind of got backlogged, right? And there is no, it's like, how do you force, you can't even, in the small brands, right? Who are the ones who are like, yeah, this cool niche thing. They're the ones who get literally pushed to the back of the train when it's time to get into that queue for production. And so they're the ones who are going to be the most delayed and have the least flexibility, even though they might be the brand that is, maybe the most exciting, right? Or the brand that you wanted to maybe take a risk on. Kali, I'm gonna jump this over to you to kind of dive in and ask some more questions.
Yeah, so with everything going on and everything you guys have tapped in, what are some key takeaways that you guys have learned, whether it's your customer base, your apparel mix, your brand mix, like what are some key takeaways that you guys have gained throughout this period? Andrew, you can start.
Okay. One of the things that we found interesting, we were listening again to our clients, and a lot of them left the city. So we opened a pop-up a few days ago down in Cape Cod, which has been, the first week has been awesome. And so it showed us a little bit of being more flexible in that way too. And we built a website, and that's tough in the luxury men's space. It's very tactile, but that we could quickly do a pop-up. I called vendors. I found some extra goods that would be suitable for that, as opposed, in addition to what we had in store. Obviously, it's trying to move. But it kind of showed us that our four walls aren't quite as important as we think they are. There's a lot of other ways that we can reach people. A lot of it's just asking clients what they want and listening and doing it.
Thank you for that. Kimberly, could you touch on that for me?
So like, as Andrew talked about, we're just looking at new ways and of communicating and connecting with customers. And during the shutdown, when we couldn't be open, we kind of, everyone in the world you're hearing is cleaning out their closet. So, and then there's no place to take it yet. So we sort of like went out of our comfort zone and offered like a virtual closet clean out one-on-one through Zoom. And that's been really successful because I think customers really also are craving communication and connection that, you're stuck with your family at home. So even though it's over Zoom or what have you, we have had some great opportunities to like go through someone's closet, help them pair things together, give them, I had one of my clients say she put together 80 new outfits after the things that we did together, and identify some new pieces that they maybe want to start looking to add to their closet. So bringing something to the space that we hadn't done before, that maybe, who am I to be the expert, you know what I mean, to whatever, just going out of our comfort zone really grew another piece of it. So being able to communicate with the customers and also a new line of revenue. So that has been positive for us.
Yeah, I love those pivot ideas. Rachel, what about you guys?
Yeah, I would say the most important thing has just been communication with the customers, because as our customers have changed, we just need to make sure we have the goods that they want to purchase. So like, hence the sweatpants and tie-dye phenomenon. When it first started, we had to like hurry and gather what we could, but just making sure we react to what they would like to see so that they keep coming back. Just engaging every person has helped us create more sales.
Awesome. So we have a question in the question and answer box. So we're just going to tackle this really quickly. This is from Joanne Wilson. Her question is, in this COVID reality, do you have any experience with bringing the shopping experience outside of the store? I mean, like sidewalk selling, etc. Does that diminish the store experience? Andrew, I'm going to pass this to you because you just spoke about the pop-up shop that you guys did. So take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for us, we took a physical space, again, that was still inside but large. And that's one thing that we've been looking at. Boston has square footage guidelines as far as how many people can come in. So we needed a large space to spread everything out. Same thing with our store. It happens to be 12,000 square feet. So we get really lucky to be able to spread people and move people. So the most, I haven't done an outside or sidewalk, just again, calling clients and going to a guy's porch pretty soon to fit them, things like that. But just because I think it's tricky for us in a luxury world to have something, even if it's a polo that's from $300, it's hard to look rich and expensive in a sidewalk sale in our world. So it doesn't translate for us.
Okay, Kimberly and Rachel, do you have any experiences with this?
Our main street has been closing each weekend, Saturday and Sunday, for pedestrians to be able to spread out and restaurants to be able to bring their tables outside for the social distancing. So it felt like you had to do something. So I have been doing a pop-up every Saturday and trying to keep the costs low, because like I don't really need to bring another staff member on for the day. I've been partnering with vendors, like mostly jewelry vendors. So they will man the pop-up shop, but they still have to purchase inside. So I'm getting that foot traffic inside. So it's kind of been the best of both worlds, to be able to get exposure to maybe a customer that I haven't before, but then not having to drag all my clothes outside. So that's been a successful execution for us so far. Rachel?
Yeah, besides the web, we haven't really moved a lot of things physically outside, but I was thinking about a sidewalk sale earlier this week. We also do, because we kind of missed the in-store sale season. It might be nice to kind of have one of those type of things outside just to engage people. We also have a lot of outdoor dining and a lot of people walking around the neighborhood. So that's definitely something we're always open to. We've had one event where they kind of had a trailer that came out and they had hand sanitizer and stuff like that. It was a beauty line. So we're always open to things. We're just also just trying to remain safe at this time too.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, thank you. And so Syama, do you want to circle us out here?
With pleasure. As our retail community just grows bigger and bigger, and we relish and despair together. I know that digital and kind of one of the coolest things I think that's been happening is, and you guys have all really touched on this, is the customer experience. And, one of my concerns is that the customer is getting this like really dope experience right now of like personal shopping and everything's very tailored and there's a lot of hand holding and it's like we're gonna do everything we can to make this the best thing for you. Now, as of right now, it feels like we have no choice but to go down that path. However, assuming that we are going to, assuming that we are going to actually like move out of this phase and things are going to kind of return back to normal, in terms of anticipating the retention of these new customer service, I don't want to say policies, but how you guys have been adapting to that. Is that something that you guys have been considering at this point in time? Is that, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, does personal shopping become part of a core offering of how you guys will continue to do business, right? That's kind of the first thing that that comes to my mind. So Rachel, as far as like, personal shopping and things like that, as things do reopen, I know we're kind of just looking at what's in front of us. How do you anticipate, I guess, incorporating some of these customer service things go forward?
Yeah, I mean, we have had a few clients where we would meet them at specific times prior to the pandemic, before, after the store. We have several returning local customers. So I don't think that will be something that will change. For us, we've always embraced the customer as like the number one priority. If we don't have customers, then we don't have a store. So we just want to make sure they feel comfortable, safe, they find things they want. And I think our business will continue to revolve around. I think that might be part of the new normal at this point, just to keep going. Yeah.
Got it. And Kimberly, for you, how about new customer service strategies?
Well, I guess, yeah, I'm only 1,000 square feet versus 12,000 square feet. So that has been like our wheelhouse, is that one-on-one, hands-on, like, oh, that's Rocio, I got this new dress, I called her, so I don't think that will really change for us. That's one of the things that I love most about what we do, is having those individual interactions. So another reason to help reach out, or to reason to reach out to someone, I think I welcome as a way to bring in new sales, keeping that one-on-one approach.
Awesome. And Andrew, I imagine personal shopping has always been kind of maybe a part of your core business, is developing those personal relationships. So possibly not so much of a shift with you guys?
No, no, not at all. We know all of our clients' names, all their kids' names, where they went to school, that's just the nature of our business, even though we're a large store. What we're shifting at more is figuring out how we can do more experiential shopping things in the future, partially to fill up 12,000 square feet and, have it look still very full and enticing when I don't need to carry the same level of assortment that I used to. So I'm looking at a custom denim program and how I can do really cool custom jeans that are sanded, paint splattered, oil stained. We'll do it all in house. And I can make this huge display and do something. It's just a project I'm starting now. But first, I think it's cool. I think it's right on where people are going. It's going to make a customer experience super exciting. And it also means that I can have 8 samples fill up 1,000 square feet and make a big display and probably do a lot of it and get a nice dollar per square footage out of it. So I think, we've always been good client service. I hope we try to be, but now we want to figure out new ways to be exciting in our space too.
I love that. The future of experiential, I think, is, experiential was like the word of the last, 18 months, right? 36 months. Everyone's been like, how do we do more experience? How do we do more experience? And then all of a sudden it's like, there's no experience that you can have. And now we're trying to figure out how to rebuild that and reimagine that. I think that's wonderful. And so guys, as we're kind of closing out our conversations and, really looking into, none of us have the right answers, but we certainly have some best practices that are not only keeping you guys alive and in business and, continuing to move forward. In terms of some of the mental models or things that you guys have learned to apply within your businesses, everyone today who's attending and watching us on YouTube are, they're all retail business owners. Some of them are vendors, and they're wondering like, oh my gosh, how do I manage how do I do business right now, right? How do I get in front of retailers right now? As you guys are kind of looking at these next few months, what are some of the mental frameworks that you guys are adopting that are keeping you guys focused, and kind of how are you guys looking at maybe working with new vendors and being able to continue to support emerging brands or new brands for your business? And Kimberly, I'm going to start with you on that.
Oh, okay.
Should I not have? Was that like oh shit, I need more time to come up with my answer?
I think throughout this whole thing, I mean, all of us have you've been challenged just to change the way that you do things and be open to uncomfortable, to being out of your wheelhouse, right? So maybe I love being in person and touching and feeling and seeing brands, but being open to doing the virtual call with someone and, changing the way that things have been done. So as far as brands, the ones who've reached out and the ones that have shown like, hey, now we're doing work from home wear and they have a really great capsule and stuff, that interests me. People that are pivoting and moving and their brand is pivoting and moving with what's happening right now, or the most compelling or most interesting for me to want to engage with, even if it's a new brand. So I would just say showing the ways that you're changing to match what's happening means that your company has the same mindset that I do, and I'm interested in partnering with you, even if it's a brand I haven't before. So that would be my input.
So work from home in the subject line. That works.
One of the brands I just did it for, it's got the cute top and like the matching, joggers. So you look legit, but you're still, no one's buying jeans. I have so many jeans here. No one wants to wear jeans right now because they're at home in their sweatpants. So,
I hear you. I mean, I have bought 4 matching sweatsuit jogger outfits in the last few months. I never owned a single jogger outfit before. And now I walk around like a geriatric, like
retiree, yeah,
in Boca, like I have like a whole Boca, like 75-year-old wardrobe that
Feels good though, yeah.
Rachel, how about you? How are you guys approaching, working with new brands, also just mental models and things that are helping you kind of keep it together?
Yeah, I think I'm just making sure we keep communication open with all of our vendors. Luckily, I've been at Azalea since 2007, so I'm kind of employing all of those long relationships to kind of work together and figure out a compromise for both of us so we can just get to the other side and grow again. Like I did mention before, but we have been onboarding like a lot of dropship brands only just to kind of trial, just because we do only have a certain amount of physical space right now, with a little bit of goods from spring that we're still working through. So that has been pretty successful with just giving new vendors a try to we can kind of get a glimpse of sell through from the web, and then later as this pandemic calms down, we can bring more things physically into the store as well.
Got it. Great. And Andrew, take us home here. What's going on?
Yeah, I think Rachel's point's great that if people have good technology now, whether it's good drop ship, a really nice digital platform, and really good social, that's going to make them interesting, because then I think that's a way that I could use the power of the brand to bring a new client in. Because otherwise, normally in a buying season, I'd say, okay, what are my 3 worst sweaters? I'm probably not going back to them. Let me find 3 new sweater lines. I'm not looking for the new lines right now. I want to reward the people who've stuck with me, and I don't really have the open to buy to go pick up a new commodity. I'm not interested in that. What's a brand that's going to really add, hopefully, a new client, not just here's a different sweater I can sell my current one. How are you going to build my business outside of the current framework of my client base? And I haven't seen a ton of that yet, but I know it's early in the market, and that would be the only thing that would be enticing to me.
I like it. Very discerning. So as we kind of, that last few minutes, we haven't had a ton of questions trickling in, which means either we're doing a really good job or a really crappy job, and I don't know, but I'm going to assume that we're answering everyone's questions just because of how thorough and in depth you guys are being. As you guys are kind of just on a more personal note, how are you holding your shit together And, have you guys, has it been work and life bleeding in together all the time? Has there been any separation between the two? Obviously in retail, it's one of those things that can give you an ulcer and keep you up at night if you let it, and I was talking to someone the other day who was like, yeah, the moment I get my delivery in and it's 12, it's like midnight or 12:30 in the morning, I'm on WhatsApp texting my my retailer that's in Singapore, and and I'm like, geez, like that's it's dedication, commitment, but also like, oh my gosh, when are you sleeping? So on a more personal note, how are you guys managing the stress of all of this, and what are some of the tools and techniques that you're using? And Rachel, I'll start with you.
Sure. Personally, as a mother of four, this has been a very challenging time. But yeah, I also have worked remotely for a long time, so that is not something new to me. I've done a lot of vendor showings via computer. So for me, it's kind of like, it's nice to see everyone on the same plane. But yeah, I would just say, like, taking it day by day, focusing on work, and also making sure you have ways to let out frustrations as well is important.
Oh, and how are you letting out frustrations?
Exercise, walks, too much wine, the usual.
Any favorite bottles that you've recently consumed?
Any of them, yeah. But yeah, it's like it's an extended temporary issue, so I just try to have a positive attitude. There's been worse things, so we'll get through it.
Yeah, I hear you. Andrew, how about you?
I mean, I drink a ton, so but
whiskey, wine, what's the remedy of choice these days?
Start with the bourbon, then a bottle of wine. That'll do it. No, it's not that bad, but I do drink a good amount of bourbon. Big fan of. We just had a client bring in a Whistle Pig 18, and it's wonderful. So that's been easy, nice sipper. That's been great. And the other thing I did was I got set up with the new running watch and headphones, so I don't have to carry my phone to play music. And I made sure that it would store music and communicate to a Bluetooth, because I need that hour and a half. I'm going to go for a run, and I actually can't see if somebody's texting or calling.
Oh, that's good.
I found separation that way.
Yeah,
that's important. That kind of. I also got like my phone is so big and heavy, and if I take it on a walk, it physically like cramps my hand, So like it's really, these phones, guys, they're a real pain in the butt. Kimberly, what's your drink of choice these days?
Oh, well, I'm usually a vodka soda girl, but lovely craft cocktail place across the street from me has to go, like little bottles that they make, like craft cocktails. That's been bad and good, so I can just run across the street. And thankfully, I have self-sufficient teenagers, and coming to the store has probably kept my marriage alive during this, because I get to go away from everybody and go to my own little, we have some time apart because my husband is working in the upstairs office, and
Yeah, the no traveling has been tough. Yeah, like markets and stuff. That was my that got taken away. So for a whole year of no traveling, that's a challenge. But yeah,
for sure.
Well, we do have one more question from the audience. I was hoping we would end on this high note of cocktails and dreaming of Paris buy trips, and kind of projecting ourselves into the futures that we so long to have back. But we do have another question from our audience, which is, how are you advising customers of delays to shipments and orders? Who's experiencing most, I guess, of the three of you guys in terms of delays and shipments? Who would like to kind of answer to this?
I've had, my made to measures are significantly delayed. I took orders from people in February some of them are just coming in. And of course you have to deal with the fact that in February, a client was ordering a suit that he thought he was going to be getting in April and wearing through a normal business season. And now he's getting it in late July, early August, and has no need for it for the next 6 months. Luckily, it's explaining, apologizing, and asking them, how can we help you, basically. And most of them have wanted to support us and have been pretty good about saying, I'll wear it sometime.
Mm.
And that's kind of what I asked nicely is, is there a time when you can see wearing this again? You can certainly come in later for fitting, but it'd be a huge help if you could come in. We could certainly use the cash influx, and I'm pretty direct about it, and most of our clients get it.
Awesome.
Yeah. We don't do a lot of pre-orders with customers, so whatever's new in the store, whatever showed up is like new for them. So that part has been good, but there's lots of communication that doesn't happen and you have to like chase something down. That's been frustrating. You're like, where's that June order from so-and-so that I've never seen nor heard from? So, I mean, the ones that are communicating and being clear, 100%, that's who you're continuing your relationship with. I know everyone's in a tough spot, but just reaching out would be my suggestion. So.
Great, wonderful. Well, guys, that's all from me. It's been a really lovely and wonderful conversation, getting to hear how you guys are navigating politics and labor and buying and in the entire gamut. There's certainly no more interesting time in this world to be in our industry than now. I mean, this is really, it's unprecedented. It's not like a natural disaster when you know that the hurricane is over. This is something that we're constantly kind of navigating, and I'm sure if I talk to you guys in about a month, it'll be like, oh shit, here's this whole other thing that's come up, and here's how we're navigating this and the other. So I appreciate your candor as we kind of unpacked some sticky situations and topics and shed some light. And I think that was very community driven. So a big sincere thank you. I know that Kali has some Liberty Fair show notes and some things to kind of wrap us up as we sign off. But thank you to our audience who attended both on YouTube as well as on the Zoom call. And Kimberly, Rachel, and Andrew, thank you guys for your insight and your love of the industry. It's showing through in all its many ways.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. Yes, I just want to follow up and once again say thank you so much for participating. We appreciate this so much in Liberty and the scaling retail side. I want to remind everyone that Liberty Fairs has our first virtual marketplace that is launching in a few weeks, August 17th, and will be live until September 17th. And we hope that you all enjoy this new virtual experience as we pivot as the market changes. So thank you so much. And we will see you guys soon. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.